One Toronto carpenter is receiving praise for the small, portable, and insulated structures that he's building for homeless people in encampments around the city. But the city of Toronto is offering no such praise. Khaleel Seivwright has built a number of tiny shelters and placed them in parks for people to use as the temperatures dip. Well, on Sunday, he received a letter instructing him to stop production and installations of the tiny shelters on city property. But the young carpenter is determined to just keep building, and he plans to work around the city's rules. Khaleel joins us now. Good morning.
Oh, hey.
First, tell me about these tiny shelters that you build. What are they built? What do they look like? How do you make them?
I guess they're 8 by 4 by 5 feet tall, and 2 by 6 wall construction, just like a residential house would be. And then the exterior is covered in foam, and you get an R value of about 30 for the entire shelter, which is more than most houses.
So it sounds like you've built some things before. You have a pretty good sense of what you're doing when it comes to constructing structures.
Yeah.
What kind of feedback are you getting from the folks who are using your shelters?
Everyone that's been using them has been giving me very positive feedback, saying that it's just been very warm inside no matter what temperature it is outside. And then also that it's been very quiet. It's been really quiet when it's windy or raining or there's something going on outside. It's been really quiet inside of the shelters when they're trying to sleep.
Now on Sunday you got some very different feedback from the city. What did they say to you?
They told me to cease making them and that they would charge me for the cost of removing them.
Why do you think the city was so against your structures?
You know what? I think the city is very concerned about looking bad in terms of having so many homeless people living outside in these encampments. They're very concerned about, getting these people off of the street so the city doesn't look like it's failed at providing adequate shelter. But every single year, there are people that are left outside. There are people that don't make it into shelters for some reason, and these are the people that die from exposure. And this is something that they refuse to acknowledge. They'll continue to talk about how many people they have gotten into their shelters, but they don't talk about how many people get kicked out of their shelters and are left with nothing and then have to face the cold with nothing. So I think it's about saving face.
If they were saving face, though, wouldn't you think that they would welcome your help?
No, because I guess it's going against their bylaws, and it's something that, they can't just allow.
Now, initially, you received an email from the city actually asking to partner on the project, and I've seen that letter. Just a few days later, you got this warning letter. What do you make of the mixed messaging?
The mixed messages, I guess there were different departments that sent these messages. The first message is actually from someone named Dan Brolt, who has been working with people living outside, and he's one of the people in the city of Toronto that goes out and responds when there are emergency cases of people freezing to death outside. So he's seen what happens every single year, regardless of the city's efforts to put people in shelters. And I feel like the response, the second email from Jani Romov and also John Tory's sentiments about these shelters is more of a disconnected response from the reality that people don't make it into these shelters.
Well, now firefighters have responded to reports of at least 189 encampment fires this year, and I know that the city says that open flames, generators, and propane tanks in encampments are making them unsafe. And in one of the letters you received, these issues are cited. Your shelters are made of wood, and I understand there's some foam element there as well. How sure are you that they're safe?
I'm pretty confident that they're safe, and I guess we're improving the design every single day. We're also working with an architect, and we're going to actually be switching the foam exteriors to rock wool, which is completely inflammable. So they're actually going to exceed even residential codes for fire safety.
Now, the city also said that wooden structures, these ones that you've been building, have not been inspected, and they're not designed safely with things like fire alarms. But when you compare it to, the tents that you're seeing out there, or even less, why are the tiny homes worth the risk?
The risk, I mean, they actually are designed with every single one has a fire alarm and CO detector in it.
Oh, they do?
Yeah, every single one.
Okay. So you feel there are no safety issues here then at all?
Well, I mean, the safety issues that you have are more to do with, I guess, like just violent threats from other people. And like, for the most part, there's not much you can do about reducing the risk of someone wanting to harm you.
Right. So you have social concerns, but not concerns about the structures that you're building
The structure
themselves.
itself, I feel, is sound.
No. Now, the city has mentioned potential legal action in the letter you received. If you continue putting these structures up in parks, what are you going to do?
I guess I've been in contact with a few very good lawyers that have been giving me great advice. And they've also helped me write an email in response, which the city has not responded to me yet, saying that they have to give me at least 72 hours warning before you remove anyone from an encampment, or evict anyone from an encampment, which they've refused to offer in their email.
Now, they're concerned about your structures on public property. Are you going to move the ones that are on public property right now, or do you have plans to put structures in other places?
We have made plans to put the structures on private property that is owned by a church that is willing to house these shelters and allow these people to have somewhere to exist.
Now, on Sunday, the same day that you received that warning letter, you mentioned Mayor John Tory. Well, he had proclaimed that as the day, that day as National Housing Day in Toronto. Do you feel the city's doing enough to help those needing shelter? Not are they physically doing enough? Like, I know that you said that you're concerned that you feel that they want to save face. They're worried about looking bad, in your opinion. But do you feel that this is top of mind enough for the city, that they're planning to take this on in the right way?
I feel like they're trying their best, and it's a difficult problem to deal with. But also, I feel like they're not acknowledging a reality that people do get left out of their programs. People do get kicked out of their programs. People do want to leave their programs because they're in unsafe situations. You sleep in a shelter, you wake up, your stuff is stolen every single day. It's like, and you're sleeping with violent people. It's not the best. It's not the best situation, and they're not really acknowledging all of the realities that there are people that do not want to be in that situation or can't or get refused from being in that situation. So you will have people that are left outside this winter. And to acknowledge that problem, I'm building these shelters for those people that are going to be left outside.
Khaleel, thank you for joining me this morning. Really appreciate it.
Okay, thank you.
Take care.
See ya.
Khaleel Seivwright is the carpenter behind Toronto Tiny Shelters. 8:20 right now, and the city has said in an email to CBC News on Sunday that its parks bylaw prohibits any camping, including homeless encampments, in city parks, and there are no tents or structures allowed.